turn off transcription because I find it never does a good job with the New Zealand accent. But we'll take it as it comes. I know, the same joke, Greg. Sorry, it's true.
I'm gonna laugh both times. It's okay.
Oh, thank you. On cue. Welcome everyone to the second session of the first meetup of the Microsoft Loop user group. Has a ring to it, doesn't it? We're joined today by Greg Howard, who's helping us kick off the session. He's from the Microsoft Loop product group, similar ring, principal program manager. We'll introduce him a bit later. But look, thanks for coming along. We do hope to make this a regular thing as we learn and explore Microsoft Loop. I'm just going to kick into presentation mode and use that as a way to guide us through. So first meetup, congratulations to everyone who made it. you made it through what the gauntlet, the labyrinth that is LinkedIn and communities and live events. I had fun setting those up. But let's just kick off with the purpose of the group. And thank you, Darren and Amanda, for coming along. Anyone who feels like they want to put their webcams on, feel free to do so. It's all about engagement. Yeah, so we're trying to make the Loop user group as a place to learn together. Loop is very new on the scene. It was announced at Ignite, and Greg's going to give us a recap of some of the things that have been delivered and a little of what's coming. But I think that as a community, it's the best experience to learn, to share what we're experiencing, give each other tips and advice around that. It's also an interesting discussion in this group to be able to hear how it's landing within your organizations and how we might help others to adopt this simplified way of working. In that discussion, thinking about, as early adopters that we are, because that's why we're in this group, how we might support people around us on that same journey, because Loop very much at this stage is it's a viral kind of how we work together and use it together. In fact, you can't even start a Loop, as far as I know, Greg, on your own to experience it. You do have to have another person to start that with. So we'll continue along, but that's the spirit of the group, the goal of the community. The way that we're running these user group sessions, it's been a little dream of mine to try and make them more interactive, because we do attend a lot of online content these days, but it's talking heads, Kermit the Frog, and some great content that's delivered, of course. We learn a lot from it, but the only way that we can react is by hitting those emoticons at the top or sticking something in chat, but we don't really get to engage with people. And so I want to make use of the breakout rooms as well. So first up, 20-minute talk, nice TED Talk length, punchy, engaging, get the content, get us inspired and thinking about what we're going to talk about. And then we've got 20 minutes to react and to discuss that. And we are using Microsoft Teams breakout groups for that. So I will intentionally look at how many people we've got in the room. Let's create about maybe 3 or 4 groups and try and get about 3 or 4 people per group in there so that we can all share and learn from that experience. Really just to sum that up, it is trying to make this an immersive experience too. I'm using a Miro whiteboard or Miro interactive board, and what I will do just at this point here, I'll just jump into our share button. First of all, we'll change it to can edit, because that was the mistake I made today, Greg, was, hey, everyone jump on the board. And everyone's like, well, I can't do anything with the sticky notes. That's because I didn't set it to edit. Great. So I've copied the board link. We'll drop it into the chat within the meeting. And you all will be part of this presentation in one sense as we get to the interactive part of the section. So let's get back to introducing Greg. Greg is principal program or product manager. I always get those two mixed up. Is it product?
Well, we're messing with you because we're changing it up. Microsoft is embracing the transition to product centricity. So yeah.
Who's managing that change, Greg?
The product managers,
Oh, okay, right. So we'll just call you a PPM, and we're fine. Yep, for Loop and the Fluid framework, that has been something of a journey. We've heard of Fluid at a number of different builds, and now it's actually coming into fruition. This interactive whiteboard, you can click a few links there and actually follow Greg. But Greg, what were you saying this morning about the things that you discuss on social?
Oh, I was saying you're welcome to follow me on social, but my Twitter account very much is my personal account. You're mostly going to hear me complain about vaccination policies. So unless you want to hear about that and our local soccer teams, it's not going to be a good source for M365 release information. You'll need to follow our official channels for that.
Yeah, well, maybe a quick. I mean, I'm not throwing a curly question at you already, but we do see that there's a Microsoft Loop Twitter handle. It's currently private, so I guess some of us are just looking at that, waiting, going, when's that gonna open up? But yeah, we'll look for other sources. But there's Greg, and here's Greg. Now, something about Greg's content, of course. In future user group sessions, as we have the community presents and people, guest speakers will come and present, we will be able to share some slides with you. But today, the Loop product group does need to have a, what is it? Nothing left behind policy at this stage. All good, all good. Greg, take it away. Feel free to take the control of the screen, and we'll hear you give a recap.
I cannot request control because it's been disabled by the share company's
Oh,
administrator.
I think I improved on this morning, and I made everyone an attendee rather than a presenter. So let's work on that. Here you go. I know how to use this.
It's all
I
good.
know
We'll
how to
figure
use
it out.
this.
Oh,
There we
I'm a
go.
presenter now. Okay, let me get my screen up here. I think that's the one you want.
That's the one we want.
All right. Give teams a moment to settle in. I'm in good shape here. My poor laptop churning array. So yes, hello, my name is Greg. I am a principal product manager. I focus on our product work for Microsoft Loop in Teams chat and in feature Teams experiences. And like Daryl laid out today, you may have seen me before at Ignite. I did an on-demand session that went through a bunch of different material about how we see Loop components as really transforming things for you folks, for our users, for the community, for organizations writ large. And I'm going to focus again on that. But I did want to back up just for a moment. We're not going to be talking very much about the future Microsoft Loop app. Very exciting to all of us. I know I'm eager to get to use it. And obviously, we're working on that internally. But the focus here today is going to be on the pieces of the Microsoft Loop story that we have already released to GA in Teams chat. What you can do with that, and then I'll be kicking things off, hopefully getting the conversation bootstrapped. But then I'm really here in a listening capacity. I really love to hear what it is that you all are doing with Loop, or what you hope to do with Loop, what your first impressions are. These are the things that the product team and I are just really keen to understand. So with that, we'll jump into it. I wanted to open. You've probably seen some of this framing material if you've been following us at Ignite. This is a quote from Jared Spataro, but it really captures, I think, why this is so exciting for me personally, and why it's exciting for many of us on the product team. This is a once in a generation shift in how we work. I can't imagine how my time through the pandemic. I'm a father of two young kids, and I can't imagine how our experience would have been different just 5 years ago, let alone 10 or 20. There are plenty of folks out there who are, interested in remote work options, not just because of COVID, but also because it's a better way for them to work, and a better work-life balance for them and their families. At the same time, this paradox that Satya likes to refer to, folks want that flexibility of remote work options, but they also want more in-person collaboration. They want to feel connected to colleagues, and they want to make sure that they're making the most of their time together. 62% of meetings and calls are unscheduled or ad hoc. That's from a study that we did. But making sure that when you do choose to have that sort of synchronous engagement with colleagues, that you're able to use that to everyone's benefit and for the most productive experience that you can. So with that in mind, I think Loop really landed at an ideal time. Like Daryl was saying, those of you who have been following the fluid framework journey for a little while now, you've seen us talking about what the fluid framework technology enables, that eventually consistent real-time synchronization thing that can be built and used for any number of experiences. But Microsoft Loop is really how we are putting that to work in our first-party experience. And you've seen this breakdown, I'm sure, these three different pieces of the experience. Loop components that can appear in places like Teams Chat and Outlook and Whiteboard, and eventually the rest of the M365 suite. Loop pages, the things onto which you insert components to organize your work, and then the Loop workspaces, bringing it all together in a single place for teams that have truly embraced that collaborative environment and bringing everything together. So, not all of this story, not all of these, design and philosophies are embodied necessarily in what we've shipped so far. But I did want to talk a little bit about the direction where we're going. So, having the ability to put all of your work together in one place, to organize it, that really is sort of a Loop workspace promise, which comes with the Loop app down the road. But having these, hopefully really easy to use portable components that go with you to wherever it is you already do your work, we see that as really important to helping to pull people into the ecosystem. People who are used to working in Outlook, working in Teams, working in Word, Excel, and PowerPoint documents, making sure that we can introduce these components to the places where you're already getting your work done feels like it's really important to help sort of spread this message of how we can collaborate in more lightweight ways from across the product suite. And again, that's something we're really eager to hear from all of you. Together, even when you're apart, like I was saying, having meetings, being able to come together and have a great meeting experience. If you followed us at Ignite, you've maybe seen a little bit of that meeting notes story, where every meeting you have comes with an agenda, meeting notes, and follow-up tasks that you can collaborate on ahead of, during, and after the meeting, so that whether or not you're able to make it, you can be a part of that experience. But even prior to delivering that, there are lots of great things we can do with Loop components and Teams Chat today, and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a moment. And then finally, just this idea that when you work with components that go anywhere, roam anywhere, you unlock this ability to have a single source of truth and to get started really quickly. You and I can be working together to collaborate on something, and then take that component, copy it, and put it into a different chat to pull in more stakeholders, or eventually being able to put it into an Outlook email or something like that, and really just grow the collaboration naturally. Don't wait for your work to be perfect. Start working together, get ideas, really sort of democratize that experience. And we think that shifting the team to sort of that ethos and that mindset can really unlock a greater degree of inclusion, especially at a time when users and teams are increasingly scattered across time zones and across geographies. So what does that look like? Again, I mentioned an Ignite talk. I'm actually going to reuse some of the demos from that Ignite talk, because I'll tell you, and if you're watching what Daryl's doing on YouTube and what some of the other folks are also trying to do, putting together demos showing off collaboration is hard. It's really hard, man. Like, you got to pull together a couple of different people, get them to type at the right times, and organize the recordings. And we had a heck of a time pulling it together. So I'm going to reuse some of those assets, but I'll talk you through sort of what's been most exciting to me as we put Loop components to use in our day-to-day work within the Loop and Fluid Framework team, because we are very much using these on a regular basis. So voting table is a component that is not available just yet. We are hoping to roll it out for you folks soon. But it's this idea that we can all come together and, as I was saying before, sort of democratically collect ideas from a team of colleagues, and then let people add their observations, their insights to that, without having to spend a lot of time deciding, well, who owns an idea or where does it come from. So with a voting table, the idea here is I can insert it into the chat. It comes in here. I get a nice table to start with ideas, pros, cons, and then eventually the ability to vote on it. And again, like all Loop components, the idea here is that it is built for collaboration. It is a canvas that invites people to participate. You see exactly what everyone on your team is doing. The real-time presence shows up. You see who's in what cell. We've tried to provide the right affordances to enable that sort of collaboration without folks stepping all over each other. And then once the ideas have started to slow down, we've got some pros and cons, everyone's shared their perspective on something, people can vote with their feet, or more specifically with this voting control that we built into the template. And as teams get a sense of sort of where the energy is, you can take that component and copy it and then move it into other audiences, even other communication channels, to get that distribution to a wider set of stakeholders. So in this case, you're hitting that copy link button in the top right. Go over to Outlook. I will caveat, we do not have support for Loop components ready for you just yet in Outlook, but it's coming soon. And this idea that I can start with the people who are comfortable on Teams and then send it to a broader audience of stakeholders in Outlook. And again, meet people where they already do their work. We think that is super important. So to wrap up this scenario and hop on to the next one, there are a few things that we really like to highlight as sort of top tips for how people can be using Loop components. Attribution is super important. If you haven't discovered it with Loop components, try clicking anywhere in that component and hovering for just a moment, and you'll see either initials or someone's profile picture pop up so you can see who contributed what. In addition to that, / is a really quick shortcut to leave your name as an attributed comment. We've got other ideas that you've already seen in some of those future-looking Loop app experiences where we're trying to help users separate content from conversation in ways that make the most sense. But all of these features are available across both Teams chat, our office.com experience if you need a bigger canvas, which the video will show you in a moment, and of course our mobile apps as well. So you can edit these components in Teams chat for iOS and Android. You can also open Loop components within the Office mobile experience, which you may also have installed. Because every Loop component is backed by a file in OneDrive for Business, it comes with a bunch of great features supported by that ecosystem, including the ability to get a full version history. So we know that some users are a little bit concerned maybe that, oh, well, hey, I'm working in public. Anyone could delete any of my stuff at any time. Yes, that is true, but OneDrive and SharePoint both offer robust features for managing that. And so you can step into the version history for any component and salvage any information that maybe was mistakenly lost or an idea that you had, but then delete it down the road. And also because these are all in the OneDrive ecosystem, you can go to office.com to easily find a list of all of the components you have. And it's also right there in your file explorer if you have OneDrive set up on your desktop. So just go to Microsoft Teams chat files, and every Loop component that you've shared is going to be right there in that directory. Building a list together is one of the simplest and most straightforward examples, but it's another one that resonates with a bunch of people. You could use these for any number of things, but what we love to do, use it for within the product team is just, hey, we've got a challenge that we're facing. What is it that we need to do to address this challenge? Having everyone be able to come up with the various angles on that challenge and figure out what needs to be done. Again, it's just a great democratic way of pulling together everyone's expertise, figuring out what needs to be done. Now, naturally, if you want to take that to the next level, we have the structure of tables to help you with that. Collecting status is one of the things that we like to use tables for a lot. And you can do this today using the table component. Simply create a few columns for people who own various portions of an experience. What is your latest update? What are your next steps? And then send it out. Mention the people who can give you the updates you need to communicate status out to the organization. Have them share their latest, include next steps, use that commenting functionality, so on and so forth. And this is really just the tip of the spear for us. If you were watching Ignite, you might have seen a little bit about the status tracker component we have coming out soon. That is something else that's going to add more capabilities to table to allow you to sort and organize your information. And again, it's just a really effective tool for getting a bunch of people to come together and collaboratively build an artifact that has potentially long-term utility. And then again, like all components, you can copy that thing, send it out in email. You don't have to worry about it being out of date, because when you send it out, it's pointing at the same component that is the source of truth now for that information. If you need to update it down the road, whenever anyone opens that email, opens that Teams message, it's always going to be up to date. Topic gathering is another thing that we've heard a lot from folks. They like the idea of using Loop components to, again, sort of democratically and inclusively source an agenda for an upcoming meeting. With our calendars already so full of different meetings, it's really important to us that we spend our time together wisely. And so being able to send a component out to a team could just be a bulleted list or a numbered list. But sending one of those things out and then using that to collect the things that are most of interest to people is something that a lot of folks have really valued. Now, this is sort of the simple version of that meeting notes scenario that you saw us maybe talk about at Ignite, that ability for any meeting you create to come with its own agenda, meeting notes, and follow-up tasks. And we'll have more to share and have a preview for you folks a bit down the road. Finally, my last sort of demo vignette for you here. This one's sort of a fancy one, and it resonates with some folks and it doesn't with others. But I know that at least within Microsoft, it is not uncommon for a conversation you're trying to have about a given topic to be completely taken in a 90-degree direction by a couple of stakeholders who want to discuss something related, but it maybe isn't the main focus of the conversation. We often talk about these within Microsoft as being rat holes from which you can't escape. The way I like to use Loop components here is you still want to give everyone visibility into that conversation. You want those stakeholders to come to some sort of conclusion, to be able to air their discussion. So having them take it to a chat someplace else isn't necessarily the right solution. But you also want to make sure that the heart of your conversation and that the main topic that you convened the chat for, that you're making forward progress on that. And so I think of these components, whether it's just a bulleted list or maybe even just a paragraph, as a place to segment off that portion of the conversation. Let those stakeholders continue to discuss what they need to discuss, and then you can revisit it later in the meeting, later in the chat. And not only have you given space, a safe space for those discussions to happen, but at the end of it, you've created an artifact that will help other folks catch up on that conversation. So I found that to be a really effective way to keep meetings or chat threads on track. But I would love to hear whether that's something that resonates with others. So we've talked a little bit about the components available today, our lists, our paragraphs, tables, task list. Coming soon, we have some of these other things. And Dynamics 365 is there, and I went ahead and included that here because this is maybe that sneak peek of where we see the ecosystem heading with Loop components that I did want to discuss a little bit here, even if we're not quite ready with this functionality yet. This is stuff that's coming down the road. So right now you go to a menu, you hit that loop icon underneath your Teams compose box in order to add components. But we want these things to be universal within Microsoft 365. And so we're working with the Microsoft Editor team and the Context IQ project to be able to call upon components from not just these menus, but also from the inline experience in surfaces like Teams Chat and Outlook and elsewhere. Now, in this case, what you're seeing is not sort of a Loop collaborative canvas. It's actually a Dynamics opportunity record that we're calling upon as a component. Now, all of these components, we want them all to be live, interactive, always up to date. They should help you accomplish your job and be productive in whatever app you're choosing to do your work. So in this case, you've pulled that Dynamics record into a Teams chat so you can discuss it with your colleagues. Naturally, you can also call upon that information from Dynamics proper. All the updates are available in both places because they're all referencing the same information. And whenever you have to share this, no matter what communication medium makes the most sense for you, you can always call upon these components via that app menu. And this is a model that we expect the entire ecosystem to adopt in time. Please don't ask me about timelines. We'll have more to share about when these features are coming out down the road. But it's an exciting, peek into the direction that we see for components. It really goes beyond the Loop app to the entirety of what we think M365 stands for from a productivity perspective. And with that, we're almost at our halfway mark for the meeting. I wanted to make sure we have lots of time to hear from you all. What's exciting to you about Loop components, what you started to use them for, what questions or concerns you have from users. So I'm going to stop talking for a bit, and I want to listen to what you all have to say. But thank you so much for this opportunity to share a little bit about what's exciting to us.
Fantastic. Thanks, Greg. The goal we're going to have now is to actually make that more of a small group interactive experience rather than trying to pass the talking stick around a big group. And you know what I mean? This is what it's about, trying to make this interactive. So we do have a couple of people, Greg included, who they'll be interested in hearing what you got to say. I think Dan has been answering a few questions in the chat there as well from the Microsoft Loop group. So this is the next section, all about breakout groups. And just wanted to quickly show you how that works and how we can also leverage the interactive board. I should probably try and post the link to the board again in the chat, but I think what I'll do is I'll send that through to the breakout groups so that the link's there for you to click on when you get there, and you can open it up in the browser if you wish. So 20 minutes worth of breakout room time. We'll be randomly assigning people to these groups so that you can get together and share some of those thoughts. The interactive board, let's quickly have a look at how that might work. We'll just jump out of here. Actually, we'll go forward a bit here. Here's our first question, or first couple of questions that we might be discussing. So what were your first impressions of using Loop components within Teams chat? When I first started using, I think it was the preview of it, and it was within the office.com canvas or space. I thought, fancy text editor, very nice. But it was when you started using those forward slashes and thinking, oh, well, what's this about? This is about trying to get a quick start on some things here and using that in the space too. So the way that you would use this experience in the interactive board, I have unlocked it, I believe. Let's just quickly check. Some people might be, yeah, you're already into edit mode as well, so that's good. It'd be just a case of double clicking on a post-it note, preferably one that doesn't have writing on it already, and share your opinion or your thoughts or your use cases around there. So I like to use this for one-on-one chats and discussing tasks. And yeah, that's been working quite well for our team, along with taking collaborative notes while I'm watching something. So that's how you add a quick response to the note. We'll start the breakout rooms now. I know there's one or two people that I need to assign a room to it. But the way this will work, I'll click on open now, and you will eventually beam through to those breakout rooms. It's a case of 20, 30 seconds or so. It'll happen. And I will copy the link through to the board so that you'll see that within the groups once they open. There is just one more person I need to assign to the groups, but we'll see you on the other side.
20 minutes later.
Meeting.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
right now I'm a bit
Oh, look at that. We're back in the
calling
main
it
meeting.
lazy.
Yeah.
Not much
Yeah.
right now.
Sorry, everyone.
Fair.
I did like last time round. I joined a meeting and then I could see the timer clicking away in that top left-hand corner, and I was able to get in and give you a warning. But Renee, I just couldn't stop him from talking. You just kept talking and talking, and I forgot to jump in. And yeah, okay. So sorry that if you were rudely interrupted and beamed out of an amazingly engaging conversation. I will normally give you a bit more time and warning with that. The interactive board, I know, like, it's there as a tool. Don't worry if you didn't chuck anything on there. You see that there's a lot of space left. But I think the most important thing is we got together as small groups and chatted. We are seeing how reliable the breakout room service is. It kind of works. It kind of doesn't. It will make it work. And an interesting dynamic too is I'm creating these rooms in the background. Everything's all nicely divided. There's 3 or 4 people equally balanced across the room. Little do I know that when we get to the end of the talk, someone goes, "Peace out. Thanks, Greg. I've got all I need. I don't want to stick around for breakout rooms." And then you're beamed into this room with maybe just one person. Sorry about that. We'll see if we can make this work. But hopefully it was a
pass
good
that along
experience.
to our friends on Teams.
Yeah, well, you know.
And Daryl, I have to say, your message that there was whatever conversation about that, all I saw was a pop up on my screen that said, "Can you please leave?" And I was like,
Oh no.
is that direct and one-on-one personal? And then I was like going, oh no,
Yeah.
he's telling someone to do something. But yeah.
Yeah, in
so-
the main meeting group. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was fun. I think it was Amanda was trying to get out of one room and into another, and so yeah, breakout rooms are fun. They will get better, I'm sure. But apart from driving us all loopy, there's the first pun that I dropped in. I hope that the discussion was useful. Certainly for those of us who were just hanging in the main meeting and having a bit of a chat, we were certainly talking about how Loop works and how we're starting to use it. But yeah, let's just move on a little bit further from that. We are going to just finish off with just taking a look at not the first slide, Daryl, the resources slide. There we go. So I hope that over future sessions too, I can get a bit more engagement in the LinkedIn group and we can add people's posts and videos and whatever else is as well, because that's part of the being in the community is, you know, sharing our thoughts and referencing things that have been helpful to us. So with this interactive board, it is available to you to keep using and jumping in, but you'll see some things like I think there's the tech community post there. There's the docs.com support content. There's only one article there.
To say, I can't see a resources share right now. Are you on screen?
Oh, you are right. Yeah,
Can't see it either.
I'm doing interpretive dance at the moment. Sorry about that.
I mean,
There we
it's
go.
seared into my brain. I can visualize.
Of course it is. It's right there. It's right there. Does that feel like the tattooed one article that you've got there on Loop components?
Looks great. I love seeing that first things to know about Loop components that we authored just the other day. You're up to date.
Updated. But yes, we'll continue to add things to that. I'll try and get a bit more engagement going in the LinkedIn group. Let's just spend a bit of time there. Is everyone part of that LinkedIn group? If you're not, let's just drop that in the chat, because we are trying to make the most of LinkedIn features, even though it's probably not as functional as we want it to be. That's where, like Sven, he's created a post just recently and a blog post on his views of Loop. And I want to encourage us all here too that, sure, there are people that are all writing about Loop, and we might get all conscious of, well, someone else has already covered this topic. No, write your own opinion, write your own thoughts, your own views, and your own story, because that's what encourages us all from that perspective and that point of view. So don't be shy about that, even if it's just a few paragraphs or a quick chat somewhere, or a post in this community. So yeah, look, thanks for coming along. We're going to try and organise another one of these in probably a month's time. If we've got the appetite. I'm not putting any pressure on the team from Loop to deliver something by then, because I think we've got opportunity to actually get together and share some of our stories in a bit more detail. I know there are some of us in the community that have some maybe like 5-minute spot where they could say, hey, this is what I did and how I used it. Yeah, there's some creative ways of telling those stories as well. That would be quite nice as part of that first 20 minutes. I think the next thing that's going to be delivered is the Outlook experience. We'll see and we'll wait when that will arrive, and looking forward to seeing that soon. But
and yeah, don't hesitate to tell us what you're excited about.
Yeah.
Dan Costanero shared our message about, well, we're not really going to be talking about dates and whatnot. You'll have to stay tuned to official channels for that. But you know, we are in the LinkedIn groups. We're watching the conversations. It's a great place to pass feedback along to us. Probably better than trying to hit me up on Twitter. But if you tag me, I'll look at it. But yeah, it's a great way to tell us what you're most excited about. And your feedback is going to help shape our decisions. We've got so much exciting stuff ahead of us, but we want to hear from you so that we can help pick the best things to work on tomorrow.
Well, on that, Greg, and look, this is a place to leave our feedback in a LinkedIn group. I know the pattern for each of the product groups is that they were using user voice, and now they're moving to the Dynamics 365 customer voice platform. So each have like their own little forum. Will we see something in there for Loop at some point?
So right now, especially with the experience for Loop components in Teams chat, if you go to your lower left corner in Teams, there's a suggest a feature option there that goes to the feedback portal. That is user voice-esque. I actually don't know for sure if that's dynamics based or not, but it's
we read those.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
so we read that. We also read the feedback that comes in through Give Feedback. Maybe the most direct line to the product team, my social media handles notwithstanding, and again, use with caution. But if you open Loop components up on office.com, if you click the links in the top left corner, at the bottom right of every Loop document, every Loop file is a feedback link. We read all of those as well. And so it's really great to hear folks saying what they think about the experience. We also get a lot of people apparently sending messages to each other, so we're going to have to see if we have the right text on that thing. But we do read that. That is feedback to Microsoft. So let us know what you see.
I like something. I don't like something. I have a suggestion. Nice categorization. Cool. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Yeah, we're at time. Get back to work. This has been your lunch break in Australia. It's been my sneaky little user group section in 3 o'clock at the moment in New Zealand. But thanks again. See you next month. Amanda, did you have a question?
Oh, I sure did not. I hit the wrong button.
Waving by.
Nice to meet you, Daryl.
Waving by. That's the emoticon for. Bye.
Exactly.
All right.
All right.
See you,
you,
everyone.
Daryl.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care, folks. Thanks so much.